Okay guys, I'm gonna show you how I bleed my brakes by myself in my garage. So if you look online, there's many methods out there. There's vacuum systems, there's pressure systems. Obviously there's the old method of, having somebody help you pump the brake and holding and all that stuff. But if you're like me and you work by yourself a lot, then you may run into this issue. Is how do you bleed your brakes properly by yourself? And what I found works best for me has been the Motiv Power Bleeder. Now, I do not use the Power Bleeder the way that Motiv tells you to use it. The way they instruct you to do this is to fill this canister with your brake fluid, and then you connect your fitting onto your brake reservoir, okay? And you pressurize this through this pump, okay? And then that forces the fluid into your reservoir under pressure, okay? Now, in theory, that system, that works fine, okay? I have used that and it does work fine. But I had an issue one time where this thing actually popped off and it made a huge mess because this thing doesn't stop pushing the fluid out until there's no pressure. So you end up having to come here and unscrew this. So there was brake fluid everywhere. It was a mess, okay? So after that, I decided I don't want to deal with that mess again. So what I do now is I just use this as a pressure vessel, okay? I don't put my brake fluid in here. All I use this for is I pressurize this, and this forces, this pressurizes the system from the top. Now, a few caveats with this, okay? You cannot let your reservoir run dry or run very low, okay? Since you're just pushing pressure on the top, okay? If that runs low, then you're basically gonna introduce a ton of air into the system, okay? So that is one big caveat about this. So the way I usually go about this is if I'm gonna bleed the whole system, okay? Then I'll put fresh fluid in my reservoir until it's completely full, okay? And then I'll go normally to start bleeding my system, which I'll show you guys later. Now, over here, once I have about a quarter of a cup, all right, I stop and I come and I refill my reservoir with fluid, okay? So it is a bit of a pain in the ass. You do have to stop, okay, every so often and then make sure that you have fluid. But doing it this way, you end up with no air in the system. Now, one more thing. If you are changing your brake calipers or your brake lines and things like that, okay, then a good way to go about this before using the Motiv is to fill your reservoir, okay, and then let gravity, let the lines just dangle down until fluid starts to come out, okay? Then put it on the caliper, torque them and clean them and all that kind of stuff. So that way the majority of the system has fluid in it, okay? And then once you do that, what you want to do is you want to go in the car and you want to pump your pedal. And what that's going to do is that's going to push your pistons out, okay? If you don't do that and you pressure bleed with this, then you end up having a bunch of air once you push the pedal and the pistons move out, okay? So just keep those things in mind. All right, other than that, you can buy these adapters for many different cars, okay? They have plastic ones. This one's a metal one, okay? Now with the metal one, obviously, this will last forever, but you do have to be careful when you thread this on, since these reservoirs are usually plastic. You just got to be careful that you have it on the correct way before you turn it, because if not, that will start to damage the threads on there, okay? I find that it works a little bit better if I put a little bit of like brake fluid here, just as a little bit of a loop, so it turns a little bit easier, okay? So with all that out of the way, let me show you guys how it actually works. All right guys, so I got my reservoir with fresh fluid in it, okay? And then now I'm gonna go ahead and connect the power bleeder on. Like I said, if you put a little bit of brake fluid right on the cap gasket, it'll make it a lot easier to slide it. Just make sure that this is properly placed, okay? All right, so we're on. So now you're just gonna tighten this cap, and we're gonna add 10 or 15 pounds of air pressure, okay? It comes with a gauge, you're gonna go by the gauge. Okay, so that's about 13 pounds of air pressure or so. Okay, so now you can leave this here and then you can go start doing your bleeding procedure. Okay, so I got my whole setup ready to go. Okay, I got the power bleeder pressurized, and that's basically gonna act as if somebody's gonna hold the brake, but I'm not gonna have to keep pumping it. So I can just go ahead and open here. Okay, and fluid's gonna start coming out. There's a little bit of air there. So I'm doing a full flush of the system. So I'm gonna let this just bleed for a while until I get maybe a quarter of this can. Okay, so I got about a quarter of a can. I'm gonna go and refill the reservoir. Okay, so now this can still has some pressure, so what you want to do is before you take this nipple off, that fitting off, is open this. Lead out the air pressure, okay? And now you can come here and refill your reservoir, okay? On these cars, on the Corvette, it's kind of hard to see the level, so I like to put a flashlight there. See where the max mark is. And I'm going to fill this again right up to the max. Okay, here we go. So now we're going to repeat the process. Fitting back on. Pressurize the can. Again, 10-15 psi, and we're gonna go back and keep bleeding that same caliper. All right, so we're gonna rinse and repeat over here. Gonna bleed a little bit more over here. I saw some bubbles coming out at the end, small bubbles, but nevertheless. And again, since I'm putting all new fresh fluid, I want to get quite a bit out on this side, and then on the rear as well, and the other side rear. Alright, so now I'm gonna remove this. Go ahead and torque it. Torque on these Brembo calipers, if you didn't know, it's 106 inch-pounds. Okay. Clean it. Now I'm ready to do the backside of the same caliper. And so this is going to be a little bit hard to see, but the process is exactly the same, guys. So after this, we're just repeating and we're going on the sequence that you need to do your sequence. Okay. Now in this particular car, really in almost all cars that I've done, I do you want to do the furthest nipple from the reservoir first, and then work your way to the next furthest, to the next furthest, to the next furthest. And what that means is, in this car, the master cylinder, the brake reservoir, okay, is on the driver's side, on the left side of the car. So we're going to come to the right rear, or passenger rear. We're going to bleed the outside nipple first, okay, and then if your caliper has two nipples, then you bleed the inside nipple of that same caliper second, okay. Then we're going to go to the driver's side rear, and we're going to repeat that same process. We're going to bleed the outside nipple first, and then the inside nipple second. Third, we're going to go to the front right, or passenger right, and again we're going to bleed the outside nipple first, then the inside nipple, and then last we're going to go to the closest caliper to the reservoir, which is, in this particular car, the driver front, or left front. And then again, we're gonna do the outside nipple first and then the inside nipple. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go do all of that and then we'll close this up. All right guys, so just got my last one to do. So right now, you know the drill here. Pressure out. Refill your canister.
Pressurize.
So, yeah, I got a good amount of bubbles there. Okay, that should be good on that one. Okay, and that really should be enough because I already flushed out the line. I'm just getting whatever's in the caliper now, in the upper half. All right, guys. Well, there you have it. That's how I bleed the brakes by myself. And like I said at the beginning, I've tried different setups of doing it by yourself, the vacuum, other pump systems and stuff like that. But honestly, this has really worked for me the best. And ever since I started doing it without pumping the fluid, I've really never had a problem. I've done many cars with this, Evos, Corvettes, Camaros, hell, even my truck and stuff like that. I use that for everything. It works really good, guys. So, you know, again, I'm gonna say this one more time. The one thing you just gotta keep an eye on is you don't want your reservoir to run low, okay? Now, in the event that you forgot, you got distracted, you ran your reservoir low or empty, okay? You're probably gonna end up with lines in your ABS pump. I mean, with air in your ABS pump. Now, what do you do in that scenario? The backyard way to do it is you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna bleed your brakes completely, correctly, okay? Once you have most of the air out, make sure you go in the car and you actually pump the pedal. All right, and then once you have everything bled, you're not getting any air out of any of the nipples, you're gonna go out and you're just gonna slam on your brakes several times and activate ABS, okay? Do that 3 or 4 times, that should be enough. And at that point, you're gonna have to come back and then do a quick rebleed. You're not gonna have to go through a whole bottle again. It's just a quick open for maybe 30 seconds, close, rinse and repeat in all the nipples, and that should be good at that point. All right, guys, so hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.